Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. And back again here at FantasyLabs doing another lineup review. This is a very fun lineup review to do because it's the conclusion of the DraftKings $1 million Fantasy Golf World Championship. I didn't have a good showing here, but the team that was live had Jason Day would draw, and actually all my guys had pretty good Sundays as well. Or good weekends, to say the least. So would have had a potential sweat, but Jason Day did withdraw. Take a look here at a couple of my teams, the ownership percentages of guys, and let's dive into it. So the team that I thought had the most equity, and the team that I'm actually pretty proud of just in general, I think my process here was good. I think the process for the second team was absolutely terrible, so I'll talk about that in a second. But I took Jason Day here because I read a couple things pertaining to his back, and really the biggest thing for me was he had huge personal financial incentive. I mean, I know these guys are extremely wealthy, but first place of $10 million is something that I think is meaningful, even to these upper echelon guys who are really chasing trophies more than money, but $10 million is still a lot. So I thought there was all the incentive in the world for Day here. I thought he would really tough it out and do it, but the back must have just been absolutely terrible. He withdrew. I think he was in like second or third place. I was actually playing real golf when it happened, and my scores went. My real life scores went down once I heard Jason Day withdrew. I was playing pretty well, and then I completely fell apart because I got tilted. But I feel good about this team. I took Justin Thomas, who I liked a lot. I talked about him on the podcast for ownership. That paid off. Schwartzel, I thought might be an ownership play. I played Grillo and Scott on both these teams. Those are my two favorite players, hands down. They ended up being in the 40% owned range. I guess Dustin Johnson was close to that, but I thought the difference between Johnson and these other guys was similar, and I thought he was going to be 60-70% owned, and he only turned out to be 40% owned. So Justin Thomas, Gary Woodland, and that's the team there. This team is atrocious. I moved it around. So Grillo and Scott, I talked about. Those are my two chalk plays. I've been on them pretty much all year. I thought they were great plays, specifically for this tournament with their price. Daniel Berger was another guy I thought was going to be very popular. We talked about him on the podcast. 33% owned in this field. Pretty chalk play. Then I completely went away from everything because I got on Jordan Spieth for the course history angle. And if I did that, I should have gotten on Ryan Moore, who I was thinking about as well. Instead, I tried to be a genius and play Jimmy Walker, who I knew no one would be on, taking a couple different angles into play. I thought he might have a lot of scoring opportunity, and that just completely bombed out. Not a good play. And that's really the only disappointment I have. I don't mind playing Spieth, but big thing here is he's 56.7% owned. He ended up being the highest owned of the studs because of the course history. So that was frustrating, to say the very least, that I pivoted from a Dustin Johnson lineup to this. The Dustin Johnson lineup would have finished middle of the pack, but at least I wouldn't have felt so bad about my process. I felt pretty bad about this team at the end just because I didn't love Jimmy Walker, and Spieth was he was chasing an angle that everyone else was going to be on in a spot where you wanted to be more contrarian or just at least go with the most plus EV lineup, which would have been with Dustin Johnson. It would have been Dustin Johnson, I believe Kisner was the difference there. So let's go to the top here. Two of the best names in the industry. I've been incredibly impressed with Kuno88's teams throughout the entire year. And I was fortunate to meet him actually out in Nashville for the week one party, and just a really awesome dude. And obviously very, very talented at DFS, especially golf, which I think he's passionate about. Looking at his team here, got Rory at 13%, but this team also has Dustin Johnson. So love the stars and then punt strategy with DJ and Rory. I mean, you can say the same thing about any of the top four guys this week, why you liked them. Rory probably had the least amount of that, which is why he came in at 13% owned. Generally, the higher stakes guys have liked Rory this year, so I thought his ownership would still be consistent. But only 13% here. So great lineup. Kevin Na was the complete chalk at 70%. I faded him for those reasons. I also had him in cash, but I faded Kevin Na for this tournament specifically because I thought he'd be highly owned. That ends up being true at 70%. So just went with the probably one of the highest EV lineups, and Dustin and Rory just come through. Incredible round by Rory on Sunday, and congrats to Kuno88. Deserves it as much as anyone. Survived all the rounds and just absolutely crushed PGA DFS all year. This name everyone knows, Sahil, who's another guy I think is a really, really good guy in the industry. Obviously, he plays the most volume of anyone, but I think he handles himself really well, and congrats on another huge score. He's been absolutely crushing everything. So if you play DFS, you know who Sahil is. Another lineup here where, a lot of the guys I liked, the only other person on Justin Thomas and Gary Woodland, who I both had on a team, I thought that was sharp. Sahil always plays Bubba Watson and Rory, it seems, and then Matsuyama and Berger. I think it's a really well-constructed lineup, basically chasing birdies here, and Rory definitely came through. One thing I've noticed a lot about some of these really high echelon DFS golf guys is they stay long on certain golfers in the same spots. So basically hoping that their prediction and their conviction on a player ends up playing out in the long run. And Sahil definitely has done that with Rory this year. And I think it makes a lot of sense given how DraftKings does scoring and what Rory's done historically in golf. So that's the second place lineup. A really fun field. Congrats to everyone who made it this far. One final note just on the structure of this. Here's the payouts. And $8,000 was the equity. So you had to finish in 15th or higher with one of your teams to just get higher than the equity values. So again, it's a great tournament. It was fun to survive, but in these final spots, you really need to shoot. You need to basically put yourself in the best position to take home the big prizes because that's where the big ROIs are. So certainly a lot of fun competing in this. Congrats again to those two guys. Hope this was helpful in some regards for all the Fantasy Labs guys out there. And of course, looking to see you guys at the top of the leaderboard.